Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Speaker. It's good to have the opportunity to have this conversation today, even though many of us don't want to. There's a couple of things that I want to address here as I've listened. I had some comments on my own that I thought I was going to make, and just listening to the dialogue has kind of shifted what I think I need to say. I'd like to point out that losing out on funding as an argument is a red herring. It is appealing to emotion, because this is not an appropriations bill. This is a policy bill. This is a bill that is changing statute, and that policy change is saying we favor spending more money as a solution to our problems. And we've heard a whole lot of talk about problems in our education system today and over the past few weeks. So the policy call in Senate Bill 140 is spend more money. We've got, last I counted today, 22 education policy related bills in the House alone. Senate Bill 140 was a policy bill specifically to address internet speeds in rural schools, and it got co-opted by a BSA increase as a policy call. And now we're at where we're at when we could have just passed a bill cleanly that said we have a policy issue with internet and we need to address it. Thank you to whoever did that. Mr. President, we're talking about declining student populations in our districts, but our overall student population in the state has not declined significantly. What we are seeing is a shift of student populations from one district to another. What are the reasons for that? Why are kids leaving rural school districts? Why are they leaving urban school districts? Are the reasons the same? Well, I would suspect that they're not the same. Both of those areas of the state, or in logic, urban versus rural, have different input factors. But we are addressing them the same through $175 million, and I might stand corrected by the Senate Finance Chair, $174 million permanent increase to the base student allocation. So we may have disparate problems in rural and urban schools, but we're going to just apply a blanket one-size-fits-all $174 million funding increase to try to solve those problems. Mr. President, that's not going to work. We know in this building, having conversations with the education lobby, we know that we have a problem with our base student allocation formula. The refrain that I hear quite often is, we don't want to get into that conversation because it's going to take forever to find a solution to that problem. Similar to the conversation we had 3 years ago when we averted a government shutdown just to have a conversation about a long-term fiscal plan. I refuse to believe that this body cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. Mr. President, the notion that that we need to do this bill right now, right today, even though there are many members here and parents at home that don't want this bill to go forward, but we have to pass it because we can't do this and talk about energy at the same time. That is also a fallacy. There are 60 members here, and with a division of labor, we can have both of those conversations. The willingness to do so says something about us. I voted on Senate Bill 140, and I voted yes on it. I recognized that with the timing of things in this legislative body, we needed the most time to get a redo on this bill. And so my vote on Senate Bill 140 was to get this to the governor and have him veto it as quickly as possible so that we can go back to the drawing board. Remember, I said we had 22 different policy bills in the House alone. We still have time to have conversations about good policy. It doesn't have to happen in this bill. My conversations with the education lobby that come into my office are, I'm going to support a BSA increase, but it's going to be tied to policy improvements in both your correspondence and your charter school provisions that parents at home are demanding. We've got waiting lists of parents who want to get into charter schools, and districts who are not bending over backwards to create new charter schools. Why should they? They're not financially incentivized to actually create a charter school. It's a burden on them, but it's what parents want. I just point to the waiting list of parents trying to get into charter schools to prove that that's what they want. And yet, how many charter schools have been created over the last several years? Very few in my district. Parents are not being listened to. And that's what I fear is happening within Senate Bill 140. This is the education lobby saying, we need more funding. We need more money. Parents back home are saying, we need different schools. We're walking out of our brick and mortar schools for different options because we don't like the policies. We don't like the curriculum choices that are being forced down our throats. So we want more choice. We want greater accountability. A no vote on Senate Bill 140 means we still have the opportunity to have the questions, have the conversations about answering those questions. The job is not done. Senate Bill 140 does not get the job done. All it does is spend more money. Many times when I look at emails and conversation that I have coming from various individuals and groups throughout this state, the words are being spoken to me. We need to do this because for our teachers and for our students. And very rarely do I hear any spoken word or written word about our parents. For too long, we've been allowing our education institution to allow our parents to wash their hands of the education of kids. We have a culture problem outside of the school. We recognize that. Senate Bill 140 does nothing to help the discipline problems that we see in the classroom. Putting charter school language in that enables parents to create charter schools that got pulled out of Senate Bill 140, a measure that the House wanted, would require parents who are interested in having a charter school to create the policies and the curriculum choices for their local school, the most local control that you can get over education. And yet that possibility was stripped out of Senate Bill 140. It was watered down by saying, you know what, we're not going to do that, but we'll hire another individual at the state level, and that person will work with you to work through the current process that's broken and doesn't really want to see charter schools formed. It's a slap in the face to parents who are demanding options in their education system. If the education lobby gives us 140, and it's not really addressing what parents want, it's not the right thing for us to do. My support of the governor's veto is a support for parents who are demanding better from our education system and demanding better from us. This is not just a funding problem, it is a policy problem, and we need better policy solutions. I'm encouraged that we still have time to have those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Carpenter.